and I'm in the middle of working on a piece right now.
Tell us about it.
I have the whole story mapped out in my head, and I really am excited about the idea, and I don't want to say too much because I'm in the middle of it. It's not finished, so I don't really talk too much about it. But I will talk about the process.
Yeah.
The idea came to me vaguely, and then something happened, a sign or something. I saw something on TV, and I went, oh, yes!
Wow.
And so then I needed to research it a little bit, but I've become the queen of research, doing all these freelance articles.
That's so great.
It really, I mean, there's no excuse today. It's so easy to research.
Oh, yeah.
I think of when we were in school and how we had to go to the library.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Nobody knows how to
Well, I
use
was
it.
in kindergarten, but you
Yeah,
might have been in school.
Yeah. Thanks, Lisa. Well, yeah, I had to use the encyclopedia, and now everything is at the tip of your fingers. And I don't usually storyboard, but this one started to storyboard in my head.
Okay.
I didn't write it down. It was all right there. And then I thought, you know what, I don't know enough. I realized that this particular subject, there's some legal issues that I wasn't familiar with, so I wanted to make sure that I understood it enough to where the characters are talking because they know what they're talking about. And I didn't, so I needed to research it.
That's when you need to do the research.
Right.
Good. Okay.
And I read a bunch of things on this topic, and I felt very good, had it under my belt, and started the play, started writing it. And I thought, okay. Now, this irritating little voice in my head, who is a character in Fat Girls, the editor, the Mr. Horrible, who tells you can't do anything right.
Yeah.
My Mr. Horrible was screaming at me going, show, don't tell, show, don't tell. All you're doing is telling, show. There's no action. What are these characters doing? They're actually doing something. And on the one hand, I was very irritated by the voice, but on the other hand, I thought, wow, you really have come a long way as a writer, because that would never have entered my head 5 years ago. I wouldn't have. I mean, it's the editor, and we'd like to avoid
He could be your friend, actually, though.
Yeah.
I mean, keep you on track. And
that's exactly what it was. I mean, I completely rewrote an entire scene, which is so much better now because it's showing
and not telling. Great.
Yeah. Well, it's www.DEBBIELAMEDMAN.com. DebbieLamedman.com.
Great.
That's my website. And from there, if you get there, you can look at the links page, and there's my blog. I have a blog. I blog at least once a week.
Great.
And sometimes it's just about random things. I did blog a little bit about Samuel French. The most recent blog, which I wrote last night, is a flash fiction piece. It's about 500 words of just a character description. So I have a lot of writers following the blog. So
great.
It keeps me writing. It keeps me accountable.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm trying to write more than once a week, and sometimes I achieve that goal, and sometimes I don't. Through blogging, I have met the most incredible people, really amazing artists, writers, painters, not so many actors, mostly painters and writers. That there's a huge community out there, and I've made friends with them, and it's wonderful. And we follow each other's blogs, and we comment on each other's blogs, and it's really wonderful. And it feels like you're not alone when you're stuck behind that computer.
I think that's the biggest lie that is whispered into our ear, is that we're the only one like us,
right? And
we're all alone, and no one out there understands what we're going through.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are good things and there are bad things about the online community. I mean, obviously we've heard some horror stories about things and I think that it has taken too much the place of social interaction. But on the other hand, it's an incredible resource, and I have met phenomenal people that I would call friends. And if I find myself in their city one day, I would have a cup of coffee with them.
That's
most
so great.
Definitely, yeah. So,
is there a word of advice or encouragement that you could give to those writers out there, and anything that we didn't cover?
Again, this sounds cliched, and I don't mean it to. It's just that cliches come from truth, right? You have to write every day. And that's why the blog is so great, because it keeps me accountable, it keeps me writing. It doesn't have to be a play, it doesn't have to be anything. It could be a journal entry, which is why blogs are so great. But you have to write every day. I have seen a huge difference in my writing in the past year because I made it a priority to write every single day. It can be 200 words, it could be 20,000 words. Not really. I've never written 20,000 words in a day.
I'm impressed.
No, I've never written 20,000 words in a day.
Not yet.
No, not yet. Okay, when my novel is published, that's another dream. A novel or a memoir or something.
Great.
But it's like going to the gym. You know, when you go to the gym on a regular basis and you see, not just outwardly, you see yourself looking better, but you feel stronger.
Yes.
You just feel better.
Yes.
That's how I feel as a writer.
Great.
And I can track it to this past year. If you think that success is measured by your accomplishments, I'm having the best year of my life. Because in 8 months, I've had 5 pieces produced.
Wow.
And a publishing, a monologue was published in the Jack anthology, the JAC, you know.
Oh, Jack Publishing,
Yeah.
JAC,
Yeah,
right.
they published a monologue of mine, and then I had Triangle Logic in December, and then I did a world premiere of a commission piece for a high school in Kansas. It's called Ignorance is Bliss, a global warning, and it's a global warming play, 1 act for
Great.
high school kids.
Great.
And then the piece at Theatre Encino, and then Samuel French, and so what did I say, 5-4, but still, that's pretty good. So if you measure success by accomplishments, I am a very wealthy woman. If you measure it by financial success, not so much. But, you know, if you want to get rich, don't be a writer. Don't be a writer.
And especially don't be a playwright.
Right. I think some of them have been able to cross over into television or film, or they're writing screenplays, or they're writing for, you know, I think every writer on the staff of Law & Order is a playwright. I really do.
No wonder it's good.
Yeah, I know, I know. When I would belabor writing, or I couldn't think of ideas, they're coming like this, and it's from writing every day.
Every day, yeah.
And it doesn't have to be prize winning. It doesn't have to be for anyone else's eyes but yours. And it took me a long time to realize that. Nobody has to read it. Read it for yourself. If you want other people to read it, start a blog.
Right.
And then put it out there in the world if you want. Or you can always delete it if you don't like what you
Yeah,
read.
I always refer to Emily Dickinson. She piled her poems up underneath her bed. Never even named them. Nobody ever read them. No, they numbered them. They numbered them because she had never named them. And look at that. And she lived a very rich life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. The insight and the passion that you've shared with us is, I know that people are going to really be edified by what it is you have to say about the process.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Debbie. I love it anyway. It's fun for me.
Yeah, mutual admiration signing. Right here.
Well, you can tell that we're not done with Debbie, and I'm sure we'll have yet another show where she comes on and talks about her next 5 years. So thank you for appearing on the show, and thank you, our web audience, and please join us again at the Writer's Desk.